talk. Representing all of them.
I can't guarantee the gift cards won't be used. I never know.
That's right. You get to keep them.
I get to
Benefit of attending.
In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board in Town Hall and forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 6, 2023. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our Township website. Please all stand to salute the flag.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Prupus? Ms. Romano?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Benaya?
Here.
Mayor Miggins?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we consider approving the agenda, I would like to make a motion to move Resolution 22-163, which is to authorize professional service agreement for architectural services for Town Hall Goldstein Partnership, from the consent agenda resolution list and consider it separately. May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? May I have a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. Thank you.
And what was the reason to put this separately?
Mr.
I
Cohen?
requested it.
Okay,
I suspect that it merits discussion on its own.
got it. Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So we are going to approve, may I have a motion to approve the April 18th, 2023 Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? May I have a motion to approve the April 18th Special Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? May I have a motion to approve the May 2nd, 2023 Township Committee minutes?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, any abstentions? Thank you. Reports? Provide reports. Mr. Cohen, why don't we start with you for reports?
Sure, I have one thing to mention. There will be an event marking Juneteenth on June 15th at the library at 3:30 in the covered patio. This is sponsored by the town and by CETA. What it will consist of is that representatives from the NAACP of the Oranges and Maplewood, they're also sponsoring it, will send speakers to commemorate the day. There will be light refreshments provided.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to report on? Mr. Cohen?
No, that's it.
That's it, okay. Mr. Benaya, Deputy Mayor Benaya?
Sure, Mayor. We had a flood mitigation meeting for East Ravay last week. Meeting was represented by business owners and business rep and people who were affected by Eastern River or Ravay River. It was I think, very good meeting. We got some good inputs and the flood mitigation team, kudos to them. They are doing a marvelous job. Passionate people, passionate board. We started with Deputy Mayor Wasserman and I started last year. Now Mayor Megan and I are part of that meeting. I feel fortunate to be a part of it. I think Melbourne has this issue and we need to resolve. Wherever we can resolve ourselves, we must. Wherever the other parties get involved, it may get a little bit difficult or we need more time and progress with other towns involved and county. So I think that meeting was great. We had all different West Ravay, Eastern Ravay, and then what was the third one? Van Winkle. That was it, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mana?
Yes, the mayor and I attended the Melbourne Short Hills Art Advisory Committee's celebration of the AP Arts scholarships at the library. I believe it was 2 weeks ago. It was a very lovely event. We have a lot of extremely talented students at the high school. The Senior Citizen Advisory Group met They will be moving their activities to the library the last week of June for the summer. That's to accommodate the summer camps at Bauer. A reminder that the senior bus is available to all seniors over the age of 62 and over. Local trips include the Short Hills Mall, the Livingston Mall, and Whole Foods. They're planning a trip to the Somerset Patriots game, nostalgic bus tour provided by the Historic Society. And they're also planning a summer trip to Lake Apacon cruises. Various other activities are going on. To check out the senior citizens page on the town website. Jamie Hawkins does a great job of keeping that up to date, calendar of events. There's also an electronic newsletter you can sign up for, as well as a paper newsletter that she sends out quarterly, I believe. Our coordinator, again, Jamie Hawkins, she does a fabulous job with our seniors. Local assistants met. A big thank you again to everyone that continues to make donations so that we're able to purchase ShopRite gift cards. Anna, another great asset to the town. I've said it before. She assists our residents with SNAP applications, that's food stamps, Medicare, Medicaid. She helps with seniors, caretakers of seniors, utility assistance, general assistance, and much more. She also reported an increase in mental health needs since her last report. August, she averages 10 to 15 cases a month on various things. And just so you know, she's here 2 days a week. Art advisory I did. Sid, girls' night out. Thursday night. We have close to 500 people registered for the event. Over 70 businesses are registered to be a part of the event from all 5 districts. 200 swag bags will be available. Amongst a list of things, sip and paint class from Art Vino, candy bar at Sugar Bear, pizza night at Live Breads. I want to thank the incredible volunteers that are working tirelessly, putting everything together. Thank you to the event committee, Flowers Boutique, SLT, My Skin, Anya, and Real Style Exchange. Ladies, you look marvelous.
Come join us. You can see more of these at the event. Yes, you will.
Shop local.
See you on Thursday.
Thank you.
And I believe that is all.
Mr. Marizzi, do you have anything for us this evening?
No, Mayor, I don't have a report tonight.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McDonald, please.
Yes, just with Deputy Mayor Vinayak, he and I are members of the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board. And tonight we wanted to just offer a recognition to a contest that took place, and I'll let Deputy Mayor Vinayak take over.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Tonight, we would like to thank our Walk, Bike, and Roll poster contest winners. This year's contest spanned kindergarten through 8th grade with 43 entries from our schools. The contest was broken down into 3 categories. First one from kindergarten to 2nd grade. Second one was 3rd grade to 5th grade. And the 3rd category was from 6th to 8th grade, with a winner from each group chosen through a blind vote of the Township Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board. This poster contest helps the town promote and recognize National Walk, Bike, and Roll to School Day. We use the winner's design on our website and social media channels to get everyone excited for walk, Bike, and Roll Day. So from kindergarten to 2nd grade, winner was Anya Shrikant from Glenwood Elementary, 2nd grade. Thank you so much, Anya. Thank Thank you to Anya and the proud parents. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The 3rd to 5th grade winner was Sophia King, Washington School, 5th grade. Congratulations, Sophia, and congratulations to the proud parents too. I know there's a lot goes behind the scene through parents. And the 6th to 8th grade winner was Katie Ding, Melbourne Middle School, 8th grade. Congratulations, Katie.
Should we take a picture of the three winners?
Yes.
Maybe can we do that? Photo op? Sanjay, have Sanjay take a picture. Great, thank you. And maybe grab your posters. That's right. We'll take a picture. Do you have that, Christine? Yeah. Thank you, Ms. Gabby.
Very cool.
Yeah, just let me know first. Wait, hold on one sec. Yeah.
Just hold that, so we can see your poster. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So before we leave, we want to thank everyone that participated to help promote pedestrian safety in our beautiful town. In special recognition of our winners, we presented them with $25 gift card to Haagen-Dazs. We hope you enjoy or they enjoy. And just, I'll take the liberty to say, we have Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board meeting next week, June 13th at 9 a.m. So anyone who wants to attend, please feel free. It's a Zoom meeting. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Thank you, Mayor.
So you have more reports for me or?
Oh, I can just report and then I'll piggyback off of you later, but just wanted to report that on May 23rd and 24th, the Mayor's Rahway River Coalition met with the Army Corps in a internal charrette, which spanned 2 days, included a site visit to many locations throughout the Rahway River Basin, in particular those areas that were impacted by Ida and previous storms, as well as some thoughts on hopefully future mitigation efforts with the Corps. It was a pretty productive 2 days. At this point now, the Army Corps will go back and they'll see if they can find a feasible project, or projects, quite frankly, because it could be a series of smaller projects that come together. They need to present that to their higher ups to advance this. After that, then there will be a more public charrette with other stakeholders throughout the Rahway River Basin. But right now we're in a 60-day holding pattern until they've come up with their designs. So I just wanted to report on that.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I have a few reports as well. First of all, the Milburn Short Hills Volunteer First Aid Squad are looking for volunteers. So I like to say that just in case somebody's not listening or somebody is listening now, they know that they are looking for volunteers. And in addition to that, they are offering free CPR classes. So their classes are filling up, which is great. They're having them right at the 188 Glen Avenue, right where they're located. So June 17th from 9 to 11 and June 28th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then in July again, 9 to 11, July 16th, and then July 27th from 7 to 9. And you can go to mshvfas.org if you want to sign up. It'd be terrific. It's a great way to refresher. That's that. We also, we did raise the pride flag this past Friday, and that'll be flying for a month in town, as it is Pride Month. We were also very happy to have our own Michael Cohen honored last month by the Essex County Commissioners for the Jewish Heritage Celebration. So that was very, very nice. And we got to go down to the historic building in Newark. It was lovely. We had this past Friday, Moms Demand Action. And you know, Jay and Diane and Charlie are all very involved in the Moms Demand Action for sensible gun safety. And our representative, Mikey Sherrill, came into town, so that was rather nice to see her as well. Also, we have coming up this Wednesday, the school district will be hosting an event called One Milburn. And they want to bring the community together to share information, facilitate dialogue, and collaborate on what they can do for greater belonging within our community. And the goal of the evening is to share insights around the increase in acts of bullying and hate speech, expressions of anti-Semitism, religious, racial, ethnic, and gender bias. So that'll be this Wednesday at the Milburn Middle School from 6:30 to 8:30. Also, our planner, Grant Petto, has been out and about town. We have over 750 people that have responded to the survey that has to do with the open space. So in fact, they were just at the middle school during some lunch periods. Some of the kids were trying to get everybody involved. They'll be over at the high school during lunch periods. They'll be at Giro Park on Family Day. Their next public outreach event also will be held on Monday, June 12th at 7 p.m. They had a lot of people show up. They were circulating in Taylor Park just this past weekend. So that's good. There's a QR code if you wish to respond to what you would like Milburn to look like in terms of open space over the next few years. Then I want to speak to, and I'm going to have Mr. McDonald speak to this as well. We have been alerted to a couple things happening in town, which aren't good things. There was a security breach with American Express, some type of credit card scam. So American Express is working with our police. Apparently they targeted certain neighborhoods, certain houses with credit cards. And so we're working with American Express on that, Police Chief Gilfetter. Also, after that incident at Dior, which apparently this group of people have been hitting up many malls. The following day, they went down to Tyson's Corner. They've been up to Riverside, I think it is. We met with the Short Hills Mall, and we're working with them to see what we can do to help facilitate talking and figuring out our security and what we can do as a community. We also met with the police chief. Ms. Romano and I met with the police chief. And I'm sure you've seen in the last few months a bigger police presence. Mr. McDonald will speak to that. We are hiring 2 new police officers. We have wired up the town, so that should be going live in the next 2 weeks. There was unfortunately a brand new postal worker who had been attacked, but they caught the person that did that in New York. And so we're very much on top of everything that is going on, and we've been working, the police have been working diligently. Mr. McDonald, maybe you want to go over the numbers and talk about the things that we're doing, the amount of man hours.
Sure. So I think that as we kind of go through this and specifically sort of these high visibility crimes that are taking place with regard to the mall and the postal worker and things like that. Just want to let the community know that in the past week, the police department has arrested 14 people. In the past month, they've arrested 33 people. Since January of this year, we've added 854.5 hours of burglary patrol. And I understand from the standpoint of, from a standpoint of statistics, it feels, and I think this was mentioned at the last meeting, and I think I've seen that, it's been stated that, perhaps I discounted something, but what I really just said at the last meeting was to make sure that, before we say there's a rise of crime, that we have some figures behind it. And certainly it does feel that way, based on what we're seeing on social media and we're seeing within our community. I can tell you that this is not just a Millburn problem, but I don't want to discount the way that our residents feel by saying that, but it is something that is continuing throughout other communities. Fairfield just yesterday had a car theft with 6 juveniles. West Orange is experiencing home burglaries, things like that. But from a historical perspective, I just wanted to provide some data, in particular with motor vehicle thefts, and sort of just a quick update on May of this year. So back in 1995, we had 151 motor vehicle thefts. In 1998, 136. In 1999, 121. The numbers continually go down to 2013, where we had 9. That number is slowly increasing now. And we're back up to about 43 to 47. I think we had 47 car thefts last year and 43 the year before that. So again, we just want to let people understand that we are looking at these numbers, that we are adding patrols, that we are, arresting people. The next process of that, in terms of keeping people in jail or repeat offenders in jail and stuff, that's somewhat out of our hands from a judicial standpoint. But the police department is hard at work, and I think that everybody should, hear that, and that they're doing quite a bit of work to apprehend these individuals. The other thing, just again, and I think we just want to continue that message of making sure that we're locking up and that we're keeping our things safe. Just in the last month, there were 4 car thefts that didn't include that weren't from a home burglary. Those 4 car thefts, 3 had the key fob in them, and one of them was a Kia challenge, which is still taking place on TikTok, and that took place at the Short Hills Mall. So just again, to the mayor's point, we are consistently looking at this and consistently talking about this, and again, the police department is doing a lot of work in arresting these individuals and adding the patrols that are needed to help keep the residents safe.
Thank you very much. Public comment. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern and clearly state your name and whether you're a Millburn resident and or property or business owner, and speak loudly so that your comments may be understood by all and properly recorded. Please don't provide your full address, saying our meetings are recorded and are readily available then to the public. For the convenience of our community, there is a remote option available, and so if you called in and would like to comment, please press *6 now. And if you're attending by computer or electronic device, please click the raise hand button. All members of the public wishing to speak will be put into the queue to address the committee. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 1 3-minute session. You will be prompted when there is 30 seconds remaining. Each individual will be given 1 opportunity to make their public comment. Please be patient, and we will address each member of the public that wishes to speak. This is a business meeting, and please do not address professionals or staff directly, and please do direct all your comments to me. A reminder, we're all neighbors, and personal attacks are strongly discouraged. We'll now open the public comment period.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, a Short Hills resident. I just want to follow up a question that Tara Prupus left at the last meeting, which I was not allowed to follow up. It's about identification in the Jiff insurer. She asked questions about the High Center, whether they were paying, but based on the bill list, they're paying directly to the municipal attorney. Also, on the last meeting's bill list, we got a payment in my case, and we were told last year that you have paid the deductible in full. And the question was, yes, Alex, you're making a face. Yes, you said you paid $25,000 last year. You paid about another $6,000. The reason I raise that, if you look at the time summaries, that it takes about 45 days or 30 days to get them. The labor attorney is responding to my notices of constitutional tort litigation. As to who reviews the time summaries of the municipal attorney, does each of you council members review them? Because in one of them, this one that I received today, for like 30 days, under the Bear Properties litigation, there's references to Pecone South. Pecone South had nothing to do with work that was impending in March of 2023. I think you need to go look at some of the time summaries. And that takes me to the commercial solid waste ordinance that's going on first reading. I believe that this letter that was sent to commercial owners needs to be posted on the public website. I also believe that the black line copy that you discussed at the last meeting should be shown to the public so we can understand the changes to the ordinance. In addition, I think you need to review the work that was done by the municipal attorney. I stood up here in January, February of this year, and I told you you had to amend the ordinance. You scoffed at me. I told you that apartment owners were entitled to a rebate if you changed the law. You laughed at me. Look at the changes. Who was right? This leads into a lot of things that happens tonight. As to 9th Street, Main Street redevelopment plan, when will you have a public meeting so the public can understand? A redevelopment plan is an ordinance, it's a municipal land use change of zoning ordinance. The public is entitled to know what these changes are. What are the height restrictions? What are the setbacks and other things? In addition, based on the time summaries and the 9 Main Street performance schedule, you're talking about a pilot. Under state law, under best practices, you need a long-term tax exemption policy and procedure ordinance. I've been raising this since June of 2021. You need to have that. Also, we're entitled to a net benefits analysis before you talk about long-term tax exemptions. I'm trying to run through this. As to reserves, when we go back to tax credits, I finally understood the question I was asking. When you look at the best practices.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
Ed Mazer, Township resident. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for your service. Certainly we are in very divisive times within the township and makes your job all the more challenging. I'd like to thank the Township Committee, its predecessors, and particularly Alex McDonald for getting the traffic light installed at White Oak Ridge and Hobart. My wife was involved in an accident there 7 years ago, and I subsequently learned anecdotally of a few other accidents within a short period of time thereafter. With an Oprah request, I found, I believe there were 4 other accidents in just a 2-month period. I sent the letter, it's actually June 10th of 2016, just about 7 years ago, to Chief Gilfetter, advising that something should be done. The traffic department advised me that this was a responsibility of Essex County. I contacted them, nothing really came about. I went back to Alex. Alex had traffic study done, which indicated that there should be a traffic light there for several reasons, including safety. It was rather complex because well, 4 easements needed, as well as a taking. Essex County changed moved the goalposts at least once in doing that, but we finally have the light in place. I know I only have a little time left, but what I want to do is suggest that the Township Committee invest a few $1,000s, have your traffic consultant work with the police department. They've got a great database of where accidents happen, tease out where the dangerous intersections are in the town, and see what things can be done. If this had been done many years ago, that intersection would have shown up. I did Oprah's subsequently, and we were always over 5 accidents a year. The town has an irregular streetscape, which is charming, but also leads to additional dangers. I think that pulling the data out from that would indicate which intersections may need additional signage or signalization, whether we need better sight triangles, or whether there should be more enforcement. And if there's enforcement, at least it's going to be done on a quantitative basis.
Thank you, Mr. Windsor.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Jean Pasternak, resident of Short Hills. I just wanted to follow up, Alex, your comments about the police, adding police. Can you explain, or someone explain how their time will be allocated? And just, I've heard this said in the community various times about how there's one patrol car kind of in the nighttime when a lot of these incidents are occurring. Is that true or not true? Can you just clarify that? And also, even though there were 3 on duty, 1 is only out actually patrolling. That's what I've heard. I just wondered if that's true or not. I also wondered, you just said, it's widespread, there's crime happening all over, but what has this body done to appeal to, the legislators that you all say you're so well connected to try and change those laws so that if you arrest, that those people have consequences? What have you physically, literally done? Have you written letters? Have you talked to people? What have you done to try and help push that along? That's what I think make a big difference. People don't feel safe when people are arrested and just let go right away. So I'm just going to continue about the reserves. The Milburn Reserve for uncollected taxes, how is that calculated? Is the reserve number lower than the actual percentage of taxes collected? Is the reserve amount included in the total amount to be raised by taxes? When will the township's written reserve funding policy and procedure be posted on the website? Based upon the written policy, what percentage of expenses are our annual reserve, floor, and ceiling? And how much unencumbered cash is sitting in our accounts today? On to the bond ordinance. In connection with tonight's bond ordinance, when was a supplemental debt statement delivered and posted on the public website? What is the purpose of the bond ordinance? And were those proposed capital projects included in the 2023 capital budget? As far as the Main Street pedestrian mall, this is a second reading. With respect to the 23 Main Street pedestrian mall ordinance, what state enabling statute governs this ordinance? Was the ordinance modified prior to its first reading? What were the changes? Has the township obtained an updated traffic study in connection with this ordinance? Is it a done deal? Are there comments allowed from the public, or have they been sought in terms of how this impacts the residents? Did the local CIT approve an outdoor performance contract prior to the township approving the 23 Main Street pedestrian mall? And has the township clerk posted proof of service prior to consideration? And when will the mall actually become effective? I guess there's one last topic, which is about the food pantry. There's going to be a resolution adopted tonight, it looks like. What is the purpose of the resolution related to the food pantry? Under what authority does the local governing body increase the number of local assistance board members by resolution and not by ordinance? Thank you.
Evening. Good evening. Christine Best, Milburn Short Hills resident and property owner. I want to thank Tara, I'm so sorry she's not here today, for actually being a stand-up member of the committee and showing a lot of ethics and logic and bravery to stand up to ask Alex the right questions. This happened last week. And I am going to refer to a 5G Oprah request that I made so everybody knows what I'm talking about. I've been trying to get records since I think February. I've gotten a bunch of little tactics to stop me from getting access to these. The latest one, which was stated in an email to me from Jessica that it was an attorney-client privilege and that basically the public's right to know about public safety for their health was weighed against somebody's personal information, his name on an email essentially. And then, so I expected I would have to fight for that. And then Tara was wise enough to actually ask Alex in a meeting on tape questions about whether he was our attorney, because basically you denied me rights to Oprah because you claimed he was our attorney-client privilege. And so let me just recap the questioning of Mr. McDonald last week from Tara. Tara, Mr. Lupo, is he your attorney or is he a consultant? Alex, he's a consultant. Tara, okay, where were we with that? His work. Alex, yes, I have draft ordinances to the Township Committee. By the way, I had asked for these and I never saw draft ordinances. But also, Mr. Lupo, this is Alex again, is also acting as a consultant for the engineering department, as well as the planning board and the zoning board, who may have to hear these small cell locations, review these applications from the carriers. So he's assisting in that and charging those applicants for the work. So basically, in your words, Alex, it appears that he's double dipping Mr. Lupo. I don't know if he is or not, but that's what you stated indirectly. So I'm not sure where we're going with that, Alex. I'm very concerned about it. Going back to the conversation, Tara, okay, but he's not our attorney, not acting as our attorney. Alex, he is not giving us legal advice, except for that he is delay in speech. I couldn't think of what to say, Alex. Like providing that he isn't, pause, his consulting contract is to provide us with draft ordinances for 4G and 5G technology, okay? Where are those contracts in the draft ordinances, Alex? It's been 6 months or so since he's been working for you guys. Tara, but is this a discussion about the safety of 5G or is it just the placement of 5G? Alex, yes, it is the ability for the township to further control the right of way to the extent that we can. So if we aren't controlling it, Alex, why was he hired? Because it sounds like you can't. And as I've indicated, this is Alex again, past meetings, the FCC governs the technology and we do not have the ability, as I understand it, because Alex, you're in charge and only you get to understand it, because it seems that way to me. It is to deny the implementation of this technology. What we do is have the ability to control it, and we had passed in 2019, prior to the FCC regulations going into place, an ordinance.
Thank you,
Where
Ms.
is that
Best.
ordinance?
Thank you, Ms.
Do
Best.
you think that
Thank
I
you.
could finish this?
No.
Okay,
No.
so I'll
Thank
do
you,
it in
Ms.
the next meeting because public safety
Thank you, Ms.
and
Best.
drawing contests are more
Thank you,
important to
Ms.
you.
Best. Thank you.
Richard Cyber, Township resident. So I've been going to the Memorial Day Parade, a few other functions. I noticed that there's some mayors from other towns speaking to the residents. Are they being invited or do they invite themselves? And if they are being invited, who invites them and why are they invited to speak in our town? Just wondering.
Anyone online? Mr. Moment for public comment?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Miggins and TC. Ben Stoller, joining way of, I guess, Milan, Italy. I'm traveling on business, so thanks for having the video option available. 422 Wyoming, Millburn, New Jersey. Couple comments I have. One is, first I'd like to congratulate Michael Cohen to be honored about being a Jewish man. I think that's very important. More specifically, I was able to attend the End the Gun Violence nonpartisan event at the Taylor Park. Wonderful event that was put together. My family joined me, had a fantastic meeting with Mikey Sherrill and such. Just a great event and 100% wholly behind the gun safety initiatives. I was talking to a few folks at the Board of Education regarding the segregated 75 family lot on the affordable housing on the dump or the remediated dump for Mr. Mariziti. And one of the comments that came back was, there seems to be a little dissension between the BOE and the TC. So I want to understand how that's going to be rectified over the period of time when we're planning to welcome these families and ensure that they thrive. One of the comments I got, Ms. Miggins, was that they may institute or install the trailers again. Now, I had experience with the trailers at Glenwood School for my older children as they were younger. And I just wanted to understand what we've put in place to ensure that if there's an active shooter or some type of disaster in our school system, how we will protect those trailers. Also, my kids complain severely about the temperature during cold months. So I think that really needs to be reviewed. I'd like to thank Mr. Alex McDonald to talk about his comment that crime was not spiking, although it really seemed like it was after that comment. No one's impugning or besmirching our police department. We want to make sure they have the resources available. So I'm happy to see that we're hiring 2 new patrolmen. Hopefully they're doing overnight patrols. But one of the biggest things I really want to communicate as a professional is that we need the opportunity to have statistics. Whataboutism from 2013, not really going to pass. If we had 0 car thefts, what is different between 2013 and now? What were the number of patrolmen per resident? Obviously, laws have changed. What are those changes? How do we get our elected officials to push the laws back? So, really, it's really how do we make that change and move forward? Thank you very much.
Enjoy the evening.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Perry Urso, 514 Milburn Avenue, Short Hills. I'm assuming I missed the first part of your meeting. I apologize, Mayor. Can you please tell me if this is the only time that we have time to speak tonight?
Yeah, unless you're going
Okay.
to speak on the ordinance. Sure.
Okay, well, you know what? I'll just put all my concerns. If I finish, I finish. So Resolution 23-154. So it wasn't until resident attorney Feld in 2020 questioned why the bill list is not included in your agenda packet. Should it have been? If yes, why not? Considering the public was not privy to your bill list in the agenda packet until it was brought to your attention, I would ask if all committee members had prior access to review and question prior to voting and to approve your bill list. Or did all committee members rely on our BA, McDonald, and our then CFO, Mr. Gabloff? If this is the case, it brings me to my question. Is our BA, our Chief Administrator Office, subject to an annual local review by this board? And what is the process? Regarding ordinance 2638-23, Main Street closure, has the local CID approved all of your outdoor performance contracts prior to the township approving the calendar year 2023 Main Street pedestrian mall? And since 2020, when will the public know how much money has been expended in the support of the Main Street pedestrian mall? This is an outstanding question. Ordinance 2643-23, the solid waste. So I remember correctly, also in January, once again, resident attorney Feld told this body that they needed to amend chapter 14 prior to initial letters distributed in any change. So to Mrs. Pasternak's comment, if there is a substantial amount of monies in an account that we don't know of, why are you choosing to eliminate the solid waste pickup for businesses? Would this change add additional CAM charges to existing tenants? Who is responsible for this change? Can you also please explain how mixed-use taxpayers will be charged? And will commercial property owners be given a rebate for loss of service? I asked this question last meeting. And will there be a tax appeal process for the commercial property owners? And lastly, any updates on parking lot 14? Still haven't heard anything. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Urso. Else, Mr. Wallman? I will now close the public comment period. This time, our professional committee members may directly answer any questions made by the public. Start with you, Mr. McDonald, any? Might as well.
I would just ask that Ms. Pasternak, she went through quite a few questions regarding the budget. If she didn't mind just submitting those, in particular with regard to the reserve for uncollected taxes. As everyone probably is aware, the township is responsible for collecting all of the taxes for not only the township, but the Board of Education as well as the county. The county and the Board of Education must be paid 100% of their taxes. So any lack of payment in taxes is borne by the municipality. So the reserve for uncollected taxes is a percentage based on historical collections. It may be a little bit less than historical collections. However, it is included in the annual budget. It's just so that's clear. But I understand there were further questions with the budget, and so happy to answer those or have Township CFO answer those as well if you get those over to us. Ms. Best, I will certainly investigate your inquiry about Mr. Lupo, but I think it should be stated that the township works on a lot of different things all the time, and there are many draft documents that are not released because they're draft documents. I think it was a question that came up in Ms. Pasternak's was the ordinance for the temporary street closure modified before it was introduced? Yes, it was. It's a draft document. It's able to be modified before it's introduced by this body. So, and I think it was a change in nomenclature that was directed to us again by the DOT, that it was no longer considered a pedestrian mall, but a temporary road closure. But again, I will make sure that I focus on Ms. Best's request and get her some additional information with regard to that. Just to speak to, again, Mr. Stoller's indication that there's a spike in crime. Again, not going to necessarily, all I said was let's be careful about saying it before we have some statistics. But if you go back to 2013, yes, crime, motor vehicle thefts, some crime indicators are higher. If you go back to 1995, it's lower. So I think there's also a degree of where are you measuring from, but that is not take away from the fact that the police department is doing things. They are adding patrols, they are arresting people, all of that stuff, and that the township committee as well as myself are very much aware of that and monitoring the situation. As a question to whether there's one person on patrol, because this is when things happen. The answer is no, there's not one person on patrol overnight in the township of Millburn, which is 9.9 square miles and 20,000 people. And I don't think we can make the assumption that these crimes take place at midnight or 2 a.m. because some of these are taking place at 10 o'clock during the day, 11 o'clock during the day. I think it just speaks to just being vigilant at all times to make sure our cars are locked, our fobs are out of them, our homes are locked, windows are locked, whatever needs to be. Not let people know where we are and on Facebook or otherwise, and make sure that we're all just being vigilant about it. To answer some of Ms. Urso's questions, some of those questions were already answered. In particular, the question about whether there would be a rebate to commercial properties that are no longer going to get their garbage collected. I answered that at the last meeting. The answer was no. The reason for that is there are a vast majority, close to 80% of the businesses that are currently paying for their own garbage now. And so the decision to eliminate commercial waste through the township's contract was done because, and I've explained this at a public meeting as well as a meeting for business owners by themselves, that through the years, the township has created an easier way for businesses to get into town, which included not having to go before the planning board, which was the moment in which the planning board would indicate to them as a new business, you must have your garbage collected by your own private contractor. And so there are businesses that have been grandfathered in since 2008, and there are new businesses that have come in because they don't go before the planning board that have not been directed to collect their own garbage. Therefore, the change in the ordinance and change in township's practice to have the commercial contractor or our contractor no longer pick up commercial waste is taking place. So that's, again, the answer to that. In particular, with our question, the parking lot 14, we are awaiting revised plans from the engineer. I've instructed our engineering department that once they are received, that we'll make sure that they get to out to those concerned businesses in and around lot 14. So you haven't gotten them because we don't have them. Just to go back to Ms. Pasternak's question about the capital ordinance, yes, this was included in the 2023 budget. In particular, the township has allocated nearly $2 million in the budget, as well as some additional funds from fund balance to pay for a $1.3 million in road reconstruction, as well as a host of other capital improvements. Some of our capital improvements are being pulled from reserve for equipment accounts that will aid in us getting some additional equipment without having to impact the budget, which was passed at the last meeting. I think that's all I have for now.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Marizzuti, anything for us?
I have a couple of things I just want to clarify. There was a question about the redevelopment plans and the specifics of the redevelopment plan. That is a document that's publicly available. There will be a public hearing on that on the 20th, but the details that have been identified as height, everything else is laid out in the plan, and that is available now for public review. But with respect to the issue about pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, there is a possibility that there will be a payment in lieu of taxes with respect to the affordable housing project, but that's a separate process from adopting the plan. It's a separate process even from entering into the redevelopment agreement. There will be, if there is a pilot, there will be a financial agreement which will be presented to this township committee, and it must be adopted by ordinance. So all those procedures will be properly followed. And I just wanted to reinforce the issue about the fact that there's no legal requirement to reimburse commercial entities for solid waste disposal. And that's because there's a statute that requires it for residential, but is not requiring for commercial. So there's a solid legal basis behind that. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Mr. Cohen, anything?
Mr. McDonald answered, but I was going to say.
Okay, perfect. Deputy Mayor Benoit, anything?
Yes, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And there were a couple of questions already answered by our attorney on 9 Main Street. I think we had that information session. Are we expecting any more information session anytime soon? That could be answered maybe later, but whatever 9 Main Street height limitation and all that was already presented and is on the website. Then reserve for unpaid tax, as Mr. McDonald said, it is based on how much was unpaid in the previous years. It's based on that, it's budgeted in. We talked about police officers, a couple of police officers at night. I'm not sure if people know about how many police officers we have. We had 54 police officers about 3 years ago, unless we had 4 more police officers. So we have 58 police officers in town, along with 6 support staff to them. So we have quite a lot of police officers that try to save the town. They have different functions, detectives, patrol, traffic, and you name it is there. So just so you all know, there are 58 police officers in our force. Then there was Mr. Mazur talking about the traffic light or pedestrian crossing light. Mr. Mazur, there was PSAP formed a few years ago. That is Public Safety Advisory Board. They are actually working on this project right now. to have, and they have been working with the traffic police to get all those information and data. And based on that, they are already working on an initiative for this year to put that crosswalk with the blinking lights at multiple places across town. So this PSAP was particularly made for pedestrian safety. And as I said in the beginning of the meeting, we have June 13th at 9 a.m. We have Public Safety Advisory Board meeting. Please, you're welcome to join. It's a Zoom meeting. So feel free to bring your questions as well as use the STL portal to put in any of the concerns that you may have on the pedestrian safety. Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Mano?
Thank you. I just want to make the residents aware that there are no conflicts between the Township Committee and the Board of Ed. Contrary to what was said during that call. Any active shooter drills would not fall under the Township Committee. And lastly, we don't control the temperature in the classrooms. Thank you.
The Township will now consider consent agenda resolutions. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda?
Alex, I know I asked you my questions over the weekend, but could you explain the light duty policy to everyone? Because it's calling it light duty does not necessarily represent, what it sounds like and what it is are two different things.
Sure, Mr. Cohen.
Motorcycle?
So the township's light duty or restricted duty policy is for those employees that are out on workers' compensation, which means they are hurt in doing the job. In particular, just by example, a police officer chases a suspect and injures their knee. They do no longer have the ability to do police patrol work, but they have the ability to work in the office and perform tasks that we may need that sometimes are only able to be completed through overtime assignments or otherwise wouldn't get done because of manpower being allocated in more appropriate and resourceful ways. So the restricted duty policy is a best practice through the workers' comp carriers. They like to see towns have this. So that they can get people back to work as quickly as possible. It is something that the township hasn't had that I can recall, and is something that I think the departments are looking forward to make sure that we can get people back and doing work that would assist the township. In particular, you take a detective that is out injured, and while we don't have a light duty policy, if they're out injured, they can't even sit at a desk and do detective work. So this is a way for us to get people back quicker doing the work that we need to get done. There are several applications even within the fire department and the Department of Public Works that can help assist in not only some OT expenses, but again, just making sure that we can get work done. There are several restrictions to it. A length of time in which people can be on restricted duty. But I think this is a step in the right direction for the municipality.
Can you confirm it's people who are on workers' comp and without this policy, they could theoretically be doing nothing but still collecting?
Yeah. Correct.
Correct. So I agree with you. Restricted. You did say that when we talked, but restricted duty is a
much better name for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen, for getting it explained.
Do we have any other comments? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve resolution 23-154 through resolution 23-166, which are listed on the consent agenda, except for resolution 23-163, which will be considered separately.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Banayak?
Yes.
Mayor Miggins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 23-163 to authorize professional service agreement for architectural services for Town Hall with Goldstein Partnership. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 23-163? Did you want to say something, Mr. McConnell?
I'll just preface this resolution with that the township, at the end of last year, the township committee had directed us to look into the potential of obtaining an architect to look at town hall holistically in our needs, as well as those improvements that may need to be done to, quite frankly, spruce up the place a bit. This includes bathrooms, this includes accessibility, this includes, whether there would be a reconfiguration of town hall to better utilize the space. And so we had gone out to RFP for architectural services, received approximately 8. How many was it, Jesse? It was about 8 respondents. We narrowed it down to 2. And tonight we're presenting before the Township Committee the Goldstein partnership, which has a breadth of experience in municipal buildings and working through municipal buildings and also historical buildings or buildings that have a historical context. And so we do have Eli Goldstein here tonight if there are any specific questions, but I think this is a step in the right direction of getting town hall looked at programmatically, as well as what things may need to be done going forward from a holistic standpoint.
Are there any comments or questions?
Yes, what are the costs for them?
So the cost of this is $158,000. This money would be taken from preliminary planning expenses. And it is, and Mr. Goldstein can speak to it a little bit more in depth of what the products that we will get from this, and in particular, staff, as well as the Township Committee we met with about what our needs are here in Town Hall. And it will be programmed, but Eli, I don't know if you want to speak to it a little bit more in terms of what those first 2 items will get us with that 150.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. So the analysis that we're proposing to do involves 2 steps. The first one is to develop a program that is to determine the needs of the various departments, analyze the space that they currently occupy, determine the space that they need looking ahead, also to analyze the existing building and site to determine what you have so that we have a baseline in order to analyze how well it can accommodate your future needs, and then determine how much additional space you might need. The team that I will be heading consists not just of architects and planners, but also structural engineers, mechanical and electrical engineers, soils engineers in case of additions where we need to analyze the conditions for foundations. We'll also have a technology consultant who will deal with audio-visual, telecommunications and security aspects. We have a cost estimator on our team in order, once we've put this together and developed some schematic designs in order to calculate what this will all cost, and also to help determine whether it should be phased, and if it is phased, how the cost will be distributed over time. So it's a multifaceted analysis. We're going to develop detailed plans of this existing building. We're also going to look at the overall site to determine if there's space to expand, and if so, look at options for how to do that. So it's a fairly complex puzzle. We've done this many times before for other municipalities, and we're looking forward to helping you here.
What other towns have you done so far?
How many?
Recent,
Well,
yeah,
I'll
last
just
couple of years.
tell you current. So we just finished a new municipal police and court building in the township of Colts Neck, Monmouth County. We just put an addition on the municipal police building in Union Beach, also Monmouth County. You may be familiar with our Maplewood Police and Court building up on Springfield Avenue. Under construction right now, we have a new municipal police court building in Barnegat Township. We're doing a new, if any of you have been to Long Beach Island, right on Long Beach Boulevard, right off the bridge. In Ship Bottom, we're doing a new municipal building. In Fairhaven, next to Rumson, we're planning right now a new police and community center complex. We also did the police building in West Orange, Belleville, Mawa. Shall I continue? We've done dozens and dozens.
I'm actually mainly talking about the town hall buildings, so.
We're doing the new town hall building in Caldwell, right on Bloomfield Avenue.
And how many people or residents in square mile that town is?
Caldwell, I don't.
Okay.
But we've done work in Jersey City, from the biggest towns and cities in New Jersey to very small towns. And so we've worked in rural areas, urban areas, suburban areas, large towns, small towns, individual municipal buildings and combinations of municipal, police, fire, libraries. We've done it all.
So when you talk about this building, are you talking about completely remodeling like a Ferrari building, or are we talking about regular Ford, where it's more functional and we have what we need, and that is the fixing part that we are looking for?
We have no preconceived notions. Once we start programming the project, we're going to listen to you and to the residents and find out what it is that people think needs to be done, in addition to the things that we believe, based on our experience, need to be done for functional purposes.
Thank you.
Mr. Romano, any questions? No. Mr. Cohen? Good. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Goldstein.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 23-163?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Romano?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Banayak?
No.
Mayor Miggins?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance 2641-23. Mr. Benak, you are scheduled to sponsor this ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor. Yep.
2641-23.
Mayor, I just have to step out to take care of the election, so.
Oh, shut up.
She's gonna take over.
Okay, good.
Thank you. I'd like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2641-23. Capital ordinance of the Township of Milburn in the County of Essex, New Jersey, authorizing the making of various public improvements and acquisitions in, by, and for the township, appropriating therefore the sum of 2.202000, I guess it's 2,202,000, and providing that such sum so appropriated shall be raised from the capital improvement fund of the township and from the township's capital reserve for police and capital reserve for DPW. Mr. McDonald, do you want to talk or explain this, please?
Yes, this is the capital ordinance. Again, this is funded by currently available funds, whether it was allocated through the budget or allocated through reserves for equipment, as was indicated in the reading of that statement. Some of the things that are being done under this work is the resurfacing of Taylor Park tennis courts 3 and 4, Giroux Park pickleball court construction, and some LED conversions in Giroux Park. These will be lights similar to the ones that were put on the library field that will be better directed and less bleed from those lights. We are also looking at the pedestrian safety improvements that were indicated by Deputy Mayor Vinayak, which includes the pedestrian activated signals, various drainage improvements throughout the township, air conditioning replacements at the headquarters of the fire department, security cameras, and other station repairs at Station 2. Various equipment through Public Works, which includes a bombardier, which is a vehicle that we use for close quarter snow plowing and other work. There is a Main Street sewer repair that needs to be completed, a stump grinder, ditch witch, and a tree bucket truck, which are all coming out of the reserve for DPW equipment. And there is various improvements to the security cameras and parking deck emergency phones installation for the township's parking deck. And so there's quite a bit of work that's going on under this $2 million.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with the law in the item and for hearing the final passage on Tuesday, July 18, 2023.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cohen,
Here.
Yeah.
I'm present, yes. Sorry, I got me mixed up already. That was not the voice I was expecting. Yes.
Say Diane.
Ms. Purpose,
Diane.
Ms. Romano,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance 2642-23. Mr. Cohen, you're
Sure.
scheduled to sponsor that, sir.
I would like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2642-23, bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of various public improvements in, by, and for the township of Milburn in the county of Essex, state of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $900,000 to pay the cost thereof, to make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds, to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds. Mr. McDonald, would you like to?
Yes, this includes this bond ordinance includes two projects, one of which is the anticipated move of the Public Works Yard. And this is currently through the estimated cost to move that to the JFK site, which includes geotechnical work, to stabilize the organic material, put in concrete pad for the salt dome, as well as pavement area for the keeping of various materials and the convenience yard. The other part of this is the Taylor Park Gateway, which was described at the end of last year, to allocate a sum of $300,000 for various improvements to that area in and around its Taylor Park's entrance on Milburn Avenue.
Thank you. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law in the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023.
May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purpose, Ms. Romano,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'd like to present an ordinance entitled ordinance number 2643-23, ordinance repealing and replacing chapter 14 of the revised general ordinances of the Township of Milburn entitled Solid Waste Management. Purpose of this ordinance is to repeal and replace the Township Solid Waste Management Ordinance with updated definitions, revisions to mandatory source separation of recyclable materials, disposition of recyclable materials, time and place for garbage collection, containers, and new collection requirements for commercial and private institutional sources to contract with the private hauler for the collection of solid waste and recyclable materials. Residential and municipal sources shall have solid waste and recyclable materials collected by a hauler contracted by the township, and requirements for solid waste and recycling collection from multi-family sources. Says it all. I move that this ordinance be taken up and passed on first reading, and that the township clerk be authorized to have the ordinance published in accordance with law on the item and for hearing and final passage on Tuesday, July 18th, 2023. May I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Purpose, Ms. Romano,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Romano, you are scheduled to ordinance 2638-23, the second reading and consideration of adoption.
I present for consideration an ordinance entitled ordinance 2638-23, temporary closure of Main Street between Essex Street and Milburn Avenue pursuant to NJSA 40:67-16.9 in the Township of Milburn, County of Essex, New Jersey. The purpose of this ordinance is to establish a temporary street closure pursuant to NJSA 40:67-16.9 on Main Street between Milburn Avenue and Essex Street for outdoor dining and other permitted uses through September 4th, 2023. Tonight is the time set for public hearing and final passage as advertised in accordance with law.
I declare the hearing open.
Speak first.
Mr. Bell, please feel free.
Why don't they go first?
I don't know.
I'll speak.
Please do. Thank you, sir.
Shirley Feld, the resident. Going back to May 2nd was a modification of the proposed ordinance. And there was questions, Ms. Krupas asked a question, you changing the ordinance, where before you, that was proposed that you're going under the pedestrian mall statute. You're now going under a different statute. Can you explain why you changed the statute that you went to? Not that because the state executive branch told you to go under a different statute. Because I'm going to ask you some questions here that you're saying you're closing it due to safety. What does restaurant and tables in Main Street have to do with safety? We do not have a COVID emergency. Other municipalities have revisited this issue this year. On May 21st, there was a full-page article of other municipalities. Because the reason I'm asking this, when you look at the statute that you're going under, it talks about emergencies and for safety. It's like when we're doing the paving, you're giving the authority to the BA to close down roads for a temporary period, such as road paving, or there was a pipe breaking that he has to do for emergency or safety. If you look in this statute, in the 67-16, that column, there's another time when he's given the VA, is given the authority. That's to close roadways leading to schools for limited hours, 1 or 2 hours, when people are coming or leaving, or if they need to have a little recreation. But it's not for 2 months straight. If you look at Ridgewood, Ridgewood closed, went back this year, they did it, but it's only for 2 days. It's always on the Saturday and Sunday of a week. It's not for the full week. And when we're looking at this, goes back to the discussions we've been having for years. When we talk about Main Street, that's a main cross artery of the community. It's different than the sections that were used in Summit or in Westfield, which are not main arteries through the communities. There's a reason why you didn't go for a traffic study. Because last year, when we asked you specifically, when you went through the pedestrian wall statute, where was the study? You go, well, I don't know. We asked the police chief. He said it was okay. We know about studies because we're seeing that at the planning board all the time now about the hearings. The planning board retained the traffic studies. Also, when you read the statute, the ordinance that you drafted, it's not consistent. It says a lot of times you're citing the pedestrian wall statute, not this other statute. And the question is, you're making a finding that you're closing Main Street for 2 months, every day for 2 months for safety. Is that true? Because before we heard it was it a vacancy rate and to protect businesses. That's not safety.
Thank you, Mr. Bell.
Yeah, I'd like to follow up what Mr. Feld is saying. I mean, I remember at the time this first occurred, the Main Street closure, that there was a lot of feedback from Diane Eglow about how residents really felt inconvenienced by having that road shut down for such a long period of time. So I just wondered, has there been any outreach to the residents in the town about this, and how do people feel about it? Do you know? Have you asked? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just gonna say, if I can, ditto on that. I mean, it's a major undertaking and you should do further studies. I don't really need to say anything more, but it seems to me that a lot of design details just get decided, kind of like this building being redesigned without looking at the portfolio, because clearly Mr. Miniak didn't do that.
There anyone online? We can't answer questions.
Hi again, Perry Urso, 514 Milburn Avenue. So I just wanted to make sure or ask the question. So there are no studies that are required prior to the final adoption. And also you're going to not disclose to the public how much the closure actually costs the taxpayers prior to adoption? Can you clarify? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Miggins, members of the committee.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I'll need 3 minutes. That's all.
That's all you get.
That's all I
That's all
get.
you get.
Good evening. I'm speaking tonight in support of the closure of Main Street between Essex Street and Milburn Avenue, which over the past 2 summers has become both a community gathering place and an economic driver for the town. By effectively programming the closure, Explore Milburn Short Hills has created a space in the heart of the downtown, which serves as a successful tool for recreation, dining, music, and most importantly, community. Last year's program was remarkably successful, and we were awarded the Best in Placemaking designation by Downtown New Jersey at their annual awards ceremony. This year, we're expanding the features of the closure in a variety of ways. We will install new signage to market the available activities in the closure, as well as new signage on the interior side of the traffic barricades, which will promote Milburn overall, Explore, and the various programs and locations throughout, including the Milburn Art Alley. We've also answered the request from businesses to promote shops on adjacent streets, and new directional signage with business names will be placed at locations on Main Street, Essex Street, and Milburn Avenue. To accommodate the demand we've seen for users to purchase food and beverages from outside the closure area, we will add 1 more picnic table for a total of 3, 5 wooden benches with end tables, 3 high top tables, and a new feature, 2 child-sized picnic tables. We'll also provide a list of all restaurants in the CID sorted by cuisine on each of the public tables, which will offer users the ability to either pick up or have delivery from restaurants not in the closure. Additionally, this board is also currently considering the potential of allowing non-closure restaurants to place tables and chairs in the closure for a fee. We hope that all of these efforts will combine to make the closure more accessible for both food providers and their customers throughout the CID. And the closure is not just about food and drinks. We have 35 musical performances scheduled for Friday and Saturday evenings and Sunday afternoons. And we'll be releasing applications for our open streets programs to businesses who want to use the space to promote themselves, host classes, or offer outdoor activities. Last year, we hosted yoga and cycling classes, chess tournaments, and art classes, among others. And to continue the family-friendly atmosphere, we've purchased a new Connect 4 board. We'll reinstall our giant chess set, and we'll continue to promote chalk art as part of our Games on Main concept. I thank you for your ongoing support of our work, and we look forward to the passage of this ordinance and another great summer in the wonderful community that we have. And I'm happy to answer any questions from the TC or answer any of the questions that have been presented by the public.
Thank you, Mayor.
Question?
Still open. Mr. Carlin, you'll have to wait.
So come back up.
He just offered to answer questions.
Yes, you just answered. Would you kindly answer the questions?
I think it's mayor's meeting. I'm actually waiting for mayor to tell me what to do.
Well, wait,
Yeah.
tell Mr. Carlin, you could speak.
Sounds good.
Mr. Carlin.
My name's Al Carlin. I've been a resident for 29 years, 11 months and 6 days. More or less. Would you kindly just answer the questions?
He will.
We understand what you're saying, some benefits, but we're asking about the traffic studies or.
Mr. Carlin.
Or, I'm sorry, I'd just like to know.
You'd like your questions answered, I think. is
Yes,
what
I
you're
would
saying.
like the questions of the public answered.
And they will be. Are there any
And
questions
that's-
you specifically have?
I'm sorry about that.
Are there any questions you specifically have?
Have there been any traffic? Tonight coming in here, there was some smoke, some fog. It's been somewhat smoky. I'm concerned about any additional smoke and traffic and so forth that might be in the area
caused by additional traffic and the go-around as far as that goes? Have any studies been done there? Because there is additional traffic at times in the late afternoons because there's more cars in late afternoon. And today it was a little bit more difficult to breathe at times, as you noticed. And there's some concern about that for some elderly people today. And I was just thinking about that because I came here a little bit later because some people were a little bit concerned about the health benefits of the smoke. And that's the reason. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mr. Carlin. Thank you. Finish. Okay. So, Mr.
Can I ask a question? I'm confused.
I'm
Are you
sorry?
gonna answer, no, I'm confused.
Excuse me, Ms. Best, if you'd let me run this meeting, you'll have your questions answered. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Well, he
Thank
asked
you.
us to ask questions.
Thank you.
So should I not do that right now?
You just need to
So
wait.
later
Can
on?
you
Okay,
sit?
next time.
You've already spoken.
I know, I didn't ask the question.
Do you have questions, please?
Yes, so there was some comments made earlier about my decision, the previous one and this. There's always difference of perspective. And all these TC members here, I immensely respect. Whether I have a difference of opinion, that is all my personal opinion. But I still respect what everyone out here is doing and have been doing. And trust me, they're doing the best of their jobs, including the public officers and the elected officials. But we are all human beings, we'll have different opinions. So my opinion about the building is a little different. I'm financially conservative and so that comes from that. On this closure of street, again, I was a little worried about the overtime, but I think in my opinion, also, it's a great thing to have in town and I totally support it. So again, do not use one or the other to just argue on this point, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grillo, there were a couple questions. If you'd be good enough to just answer them, that'd be great.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So there was a question concerning have any contracts been signed with any of the musical performers? The answer is no. Obviously, we go out and solicit the bands to get on the schedule, but there are no contracts. There's no binding agreements. However, they do sign contracts with us once this is approved. I'm going to defer to the explanation on the rationale related to statute to Mr. Marizini. Certainly, that's not my field. In terms of traffic management, the main issue in the last 2 years was really the closing on weekends in May and June. If you recall, we started around Mother's Day, would do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then reopen. We heard certainly from the public that traffic, because school was in session, was onerous. We removed that this year. Obviously, there hasn't been a closure at all. And certainly, we also heard concerns from Deputy Mayor Vinayak on overtime costs. Well, when you stop shutting it down for a month and a half and have to constantly remove barriers, you no longer incur that cost. So I think that is going to be addressed. Also, Alex and I were speaking this morning. We are going to work with the police department on a couple of traffic management issues, including the light timing at Essex and Main. That's something that we can control from the engineering department. So we'll hopefully alleviate some of the traffic through that mechanism. We'll also, we're going to look at where police officers need to be. It's a harder or more difficult turn on the Essex side than on the Milburn side. So we may have the police department put an officer there instead to help with traffic management. And then also, I suppose it was late last year, you as a body put no parking and near M&T Bank on Main Street near Rock and Joe and that area. So those are during from 7 to 9 and 3 to 5, if I recall, 4 to 6. And so by removing the parking at those periods, we can create a right turn lane. So that was a great project, and now we just have to make sure that we enforce it. And so that'll be something that we will ask the police department to do. So the statutory mechanism of making that a no parking area is in place. Now it's just a traffic management. So I think we've covered a lot of bases in terms of mitigating traffic, and that's something that Alex and I have worked quite a bit on. We're very comfortable with. Thank you.
Mr. Marizini, do you have anything to say?
With respect to the process and procedure, I've understood that there's been communications from the state on this, and that has been reviewed by the state. I've not personally gotten into the weeds myself on that, but I have every confidence that the state of New Jersey department knows exactly how to handle these procedures.
Yeah, it should also be noted that after, should this be adopted, it gets sent to the state for their review and approval based on the statute that is referenced and the reasons for the closure. And I think one can sort of make the argument that if you are going to provide for the movement of pedestrians in a particular area, that closing the street is the safest way to do so.
And I know we also talked about making sure that we're watching the double parking on Milburn Avenue. Because if we're closing that street down and people are forced to make that right, we can't have cars double parked, because then it's.
Mr. Cullen?
You know, nothing ever comes for free, and in my opinion, the benefits of this far outweigh the costs, so fully support the street closure.
And I'll just add again that an estimated cost for this year's closure, based on one police officer during the high volume times of Thursday through Sunday, as well as the initial closure and then the breakdown at the end of the closure is approximately $10,000.
I'll declare the hearing closed.
I move that this public hearing be closed and the ordinance be adopted on final reading, and that the township clerk be directed to publish the ordinance by title as passed on final reading in accordance with law.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Prupus, Ms. Romano,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Banayak,
Yes.
Mayor Miggins.
Yes.
Thank you.
Old business, Mr. Banayak, you have questions?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Last year, there was an ordinance passed for development fees. And the intent for that ordinance, we had like 2-3 hearings. All throughout, the intent was to actually put in a development fee in a tear down situation of the house. So developers developing a new home or developing a building there instead of a house. And what I've recently noticed and came to know about is that was not done with that intent, or the execution is a little different. And it could be that my understanding was off, but I made an effort to reach out to Mr. Wasserman, Deputy Mayor Wasserman, spoke to him about it, and he understood the same way when we voted last year. I did not reach out to the current committee, whether that's Tara or you. I did not reach out to Committeewoman Aglo as well. So just between, I just feel that what I voted for is not executed that way. So I wanted to bring it to our attention. When we voted, it was if the house property or if the home value increases over 1.5 times the existing value, that's the time when this development fee come into play. Whereas what is happening right now is, say if for $1 million home, if your new valuation with the new home is 1.5, I would have thought that it, or 1.49, it would not kick in. Whereas now, if it's $1 million home, it's not 1.49. In $1 million home, your land value is 700,000 and your structure value is 300,000. If you increase it by $400,000, your 400 is over 50% improvement on the structure. And they're charging on the entire $400,000 the development fee because it's 1.5 times the current value of the structure, not the home value. So I think we have to really go back to the ordinance and correct it and do it with the way it was intended for, and not based on what is being done right now.
Can you speak to this, Mr. McCollum?
I
Explain to the current committee.
Yeah, I can speak to this, and I'm gonna preface it with that I do not have a dog in this fight. But the ordinance and what I feel that the tax assessor's office has been doing is in is consistent with the ordinance. And the ordinance speaks to development fees shall be imposed and collected when there is an addition to an existing structure, except as provided in subsection 5, or when an existing structure undergoes a change to a more intense use or is demolished and replaced. The development fee shall be calculated on the increase in the equalized assessed value of the improved structure.
So can I just say, so if you had a huge land, land plot, and then you did a knockdown, you would be saved from this ordinance because you would be protected by the fact that you have a huge lot, but you're still doing development. And that's what this was supposed to capture. The land value is not going to change based on your remodeling or your knockdown or whatever. It seems to me that it's correct that it should only be based on the structure. And maybe the percentage wasn't right. Maybe you might want to tinker with that, and we can certainly discuss that. But the land should not be part of this equation.
And Mr. Cohen, you may be absolutely right, but when we discussed this, it was clearly, to my knowledge and to my understanding, it was home value needs to be above 1.5 times of the current home value. So you're right, it could be structured, but we need to make sure that we completely understand this, that we are doing it based on the structure. It's not my thought process, it wasn't my understanding. And if that is going to be the structure, it should be 300% based on what we have today, or based on what we voted for.
So, Mr. McDonald, why don't you speak back to this? How is this net working within the town? Can you speak to what the difference would be in terms of the way Mr. Vinayak saw it in his mind and the way it's been seen in the town's mind?
Well, I don't want to speak to what Mr. Vinayak feels. And again, if there's any discussion among the committee and any desire to change the ordinance, certainly we're happy to do so. But just from the perspective of that, so far, since this was adopted in May, about a year, a little over a year ago, the township has had 84 properties that have qualified or at least been looked at to determine whether a development fee was applicable. 23 of those were less than 50% and were not charged a development fee. Of the property classes, there were 4 vacant properties, 77 residential, and 3 commercial in that initial 84. None of the vacant properties have, 22 of the residential properties have counted less than the 50%, and 1 of the commercial properties. So 23 total did not incur any development fee. With the total fees of 61, 39 were additions to a property and 22 were brand new construction. The brand new construction fees were about about $488,387, which is about 61% of the total. And 39 were addition fees, and those were $312,904.
So Mr. McDonald, instead of knowing the numbers, again, the intent was to get the money or collect the fee from only those tear down properties, not to the addition. It's only 1.5 times if the home value increases. So we are collecting.
I personally don't remember it being just tear downs. I remember additions being part of it.
But a big addition, not a regular or one room added or 2 room added, whatever that was. It was mainly the focus was 1.5 times.
If you had 2 rooms, it's unlikely you're going to change the value of your structure by 1.5 times, unless you had, a teeny tiny house. If you had 1 room.
So they shouldn't be paying it.
Well,
but today they are.
But it's not going to raise their assessment, their value of their structure by more than 50% if they add 1 room.
You'll be surprised. I was talking to another resident in town that has a house and he was only adding, so probably 1/6 He had 3,700 square feet, he was adding 600 square feet, and he had to pay the fee as well. So it is,
It sounds like that the value of his structure was pretty low
well,
for that to be the case.
okay,
So
if it's 1.5 times when I voted, it was 1.5 times the home value. We are now putting it on the structure, which is actually not correct. So if you have $1 million home, and if you are $300,000 in structure, $700,000 on the land value, even if you make anything over 150, you have to pay the fee for the whole thing. It wasn't even on the whole thing. It was only after 1.5 times. It wasn't to collect so much fee that we have filled our buckets of development fee here. It was for only those people who are really increasing the house sizes big time, or there are buildings coming in instead of those individual homes. So that was the thought process when we voted for it, and I confirmed it with my coworkers then, and he agrees with that too.
But 22 homes didn't get it, Mr. Green.
So if I make a bathroom in the house, then it didn't get it.
Right, but if you're adding square footage, does the square footage count in the basement? Are you putting a two-story addition? Are you just doing footings? Are you putting a whole three? You know, I guess it really depends, and it's up to the tax assessor to tell us.
But not in the structure. The ordinance, we created it here. The ordinance was 1.5 times the home value, not the structure.
The land is never gonna change
So-
from your work.
So then,
So that gives you, that puts an unintended cushion on the ordinance. Now, you may, as I said, we may think the percentage isn't correct. I don't know, I can't say that now. But whatever you do to your house, the land value is not going to change.
so Mr. Cohen, I'm not saying you're wrong. The thing was, it was 1.5 times the home value. When we say what are the home values in town, I say on an average is $1.2 million. I don't say land value is this or structure value is this. When we call it the home value, it is the home entire value.
It should be, but it should be based on the structure. Maybe.
And if it is the structure, then at that time, if I wouldn't have voted for 1.5 times the structure. I wouldn't have. So that's why I'm bringing it up here.
So the
And-
question becomes, Mr. Vinayak thinks there's an issue with this. Do you?
Not issue, but the thing is,
do you
what
feel
it was
should be
intended for.
revisited?
I do not.
Mr. Cohen does not feel it needs to be revisited. Ms. Romano, do you feel it needs to be revisited?
Not from what I'm reading.
Not from what you're reading. Mr. Vinayak, you want it to be revisited. You do not, you do not, I do not.
Okay, thank you.
Seeing that there's no business, may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
We don't have to-
May I have a second?
Second.
Do I, no, I can't close it then. There's no closed session.
Oh.
Yeah, it was on the consent.
No, we're not closing. We're going to go into closed session.
Yes.